a game with my 9-year-old son, John Leslie. And I beat him 10 straight games in a game called Connect 4. And finally I said, John Leslie, I'm bored, and I don't want to play anymore. And I said, I'm ready to go to sleep now. John Leslie said, no, you can't go now, Dad. I said, why? He said, it's not over until I win. That was the attitude. We sat down and we played several other games, and finally, after the 11th game, John Leslie won, and he got up and he yawned. And he said, I'm ready to go to sleep now.
Hear me for my cause, and be silent that you may hear. Believe me for my honor, and have respect to my honor that you may believe. Strengthen me in your wisdom, and await your senses, that you may the better judge. If there be any in this assembly, any dear friend of Caesar, to him I say that Brutus's love to Caesar was no less than his. If then that friend demand why Brutus rose against Caesar, this is my answer. Not that I love Caesar less, but that I love Rome more. Had you rather Caesar was living and die all slaves than that Caesar was dead to live all freemen? As Caesar loved me, I weep for him. As he was fortunate, I rejoice at it. As he was valiant, I honor him. But
I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. The evil that men do lives after them. The good is often turned with their bones, so let it be with Caesar. The noble Brutus has told you, Caesar was ambitious. And if it was so, it was a grievous fault, and grievously had Caesar answered it. Here under the leave of Brutus and the rest, for Brutus is an honorable man, and so are they all honorable men, come I to speak on Caesar's funeral. He was my friend, faithful and just to me. Yet Brutus says Caesar was ambitious, and Brutus is an honorable man. He has brought many captives home to Rome, whose ransom did the general coffers fill. Did this in Caesar seem ambition? When then the poor hath cried, Caesar hath wept. Ambition should be made of sterner stuff. Yet Brutus says Caesar was ambitious, and Brutus is an honorable man.
And we have come a long ways in civilization. From Rigved and Samved to the longest written constitution of the world, from building Pushpa Vimans 4,000 years ago to building Miraj and Tejas today, from worshipping moon and Mars to today going to moon and Mars to Chandrayaan and Mangalyaan, we have come a long ways in civilization. Today, when I look at this topic, I see three aspects. What is a sustainable future for me? What is the role of youth? And how can we connect both of these together? Ecologically, ladies and gentlemen, the West has just started to learn the concept of living in harmony with nature. But as a civilization, we have been worshipping trees and eating on banana leaves for centuries. Today, as young people, it is important for us to take small steps. For example, today as youngsters, rather than buying a 25cc bike, we buy a 25 rupees bicycle.
Creativity and competition are two very important aspects in life. But as life goes on, all of you, I hope you do realize that the only competition you have is really with yourself. You know, I was once a school topper. I loved getting trophies, I loved getting awards. But I learned the hard way that the greatest contest in life is not with others, but with myself. And it took me a long time to remove the notion of competing with others and realize the relationship between power and powerless, and the endless circular conflicts they are engaged in. John Bergler, one of the most wonderful writers I know, once said, "Never again will a single story be told as though it's the only one." And I believe that there can never be a single story. There are only ways of seeing. So when I tell you a story, I tell it not as an ideologue who wants to pitch her absolutist ideology on another, but as a storyteller who wants to share her view of seeing. Though it might appear otherwise, my writing is not really about nations and histories. It's about power. It's about the paranoia of the wrong country. And am I? No, I'm not. It would be anti-national to be deeply suspicious about nationalism, to be anti-nationalism. Nationalism of one kind or the other was the cause of the most of the genocides of the 20th century.
We are debating India's part today. I could wrap my argument in one sentence borrowed from the White House. Go to New Delhi and see it for yourself. But I have been given more time than that, so I'll tell you what I see. Earlier this week, I was on my way to the Delhi airport. There was a lot of traffic. At one point, the car stopped. On the roadside, I saw two vendors. One was selling fruit and the other was selling coconut water. What caught my attention was not what they were selling, but how they were selling it. Both had a QR code prominently displayed, and every single customer walked up to them, scanned this QR code, and paid for their purchase. Every single one of them. To me, this is the picture of today's India. It shows three developments, three of the many developments. Number one, history, not our identity. We are shaped by years of subjugation, not defined by them. We are excited about our global responsibilities, not wary of them. This change in confidence comes from growth at home.
And to be put down. I know what it's like to have other people form opinions of you without even knowing you, trying to dim your light. I want to say you are not defined by an Instagram photo, by a like, by a comment. That does not define you. I want you guys to know the trick is to focus on the love. And I want you guys to do every rude comment you get and every person that tries to hurt you, personally or through the internet, I want you to forgive them.
Rainy means being born again, a rebirth. And for me, last 5 years meant of raining. I don't know where to start, really. I've spoken to my parents. I said, I want Rainy. And at the age of 18, I knew I should be named Rainy was the only way I'm going to be a good mother. If I continue to lead a normal life, if I start doing a whole bit of sacrifice and cutting down on this, cutting down on that, and cutting down on space and time I have for myself,